Hello and welcome to Tech Tuesday. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Abbie Richie. I'm the founder of Senior Savvy, which helps older adults with their tech. And every Tuesday, you can find me here interviewing people who are involved and engaged in the age tech space. I love being here. And before I bring on my special guest, let's go ahead and run our intro. Well, I want to welcome to the show today Ein Findley. Ein is the Senior Account Executive at Accushield. Welcome to Tech Tuesday, Ein.
Thank you, Abbie. You've done a great job putting this together, so glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, we love Accushield on the Foresight platform and have been so impressed with your technology. Now, you may know this, but I'm in the communities all the time, and I'm there meeting with residents, and I know what you're doing inside and out. But there are some new features and some new ways that you're engaging residents that I would love to know more about. Before we talk about that, can you please tell us what you do for Accushield, how long you've been there, and what you love to work on?
Of course. Well, again, my name's Ein. I'm a senior account executive here. I've been here almost 2 years. As far as my day-to-day, we're really involved in new outbound sales or driving reputable relationships with current customers, I would say. So my main focus is, of course, building technology and helping seniors and keeping residents safe. And to move more towards Accushield, of course, and to jump into the podcast here, we were actually created about 10 years ago to do exactly that.
Well, great. There are so many built-in features in Accushield. It really blows me away. And every time I learn about a new one, I'm like, wow, the technology in your kiosk is so smart. Everyone should have it. Tell us, what are some newer features that you've been working on that have been making a big impact in the lives of residents?
So from a resident engagement standpoint, there is the ability to send group SMS notifications, or you can send individualized notifications to residents, family and guests, even staff or operators within the communities, simply to bring them all together to maybe create some form of a party for them during holiday seasons. And from an operator standpoint, the ability to track all of that care being provided to that specific resident. So you can create care plans based on resident care coordinators, DONs, whoever might be involved within that process. So ultimately, just creating a better environment and safer environment for senior living seniors.
Yeah, let's talk about creating a better environment and safer environment. So, when I'm working with residents, I just see them every now and then. And so, how does the technology make sure that someone is being taken care of, is being connected with? And I know you mentioned these SMS texts. How do those play into the overall engagement strategy?
Definitely. And Abbie, is it okay if I go ahead and share my screen? I want to walk through a few things from a visual standpoint.
Cool.
So one thing, again, is Accushield was, of course, created 10 years ago. And one of the staple was something called our love meter, which, again, Abbie, I know we talked about this previously, but you did a fantastic job marketing that. So love to talk about that first, and then we'll get more into that group SMS notification and some of the other technology there. So to create awareness within the community, from an operational standpoint, whether it's from an executive director, regional director of operation, more on a corporate entity or overview, there's something called an Accushield Insight. And I know, Abbie, your day-to-day is very busy, as well as these executive directors. So some might be thinking, I have to log into another dashboard to understand exactly what's going on in my community. So Charles Mann, of course, founded AccuShield based on the simple principle of knowing everybody in the community and to get quick insights to increase resident care, customer service, and a few additional things. So think of this as a report card. This can be sent on a weekly or monthly basis to let you know all of your least visited residents within the community. See if you have an uptick in home health, hospice, or anything else that you'd like to know from an operational standpoint. And
So
jumping.
it obviously can track your least visited residents, and it can also track, you mentioned hospice, like if you have an influx of
Right.
hospice or agency staff workers, right?
Mhm. You're exactly right. Yes.
Okay. To give you an idea, to have a better overview of what's happening with your community.
Correct. Exactly. So simply to know if a resident that's in independent living has had private duty care aid come in 6 or 7 times this month, it might be easier talking with that resident or family and guest to transition them to more of an assisted setting. So it makes that conversation a little bit easier. Customer service looks a lot better. And it's more of a preventative measure to stay on top of everything that's going on within that day-to-day in the community.
I wonder, what do you do with the least visited residents? How do you engage them? How do you bring them out of their rooms and maybe engage and interact with them more frequently?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, Abbie. So Charles Mann couldn't make it with us today. So I wanted to have him here as a special guest in some capacity. So I'm going to walk you through a story as to how Charles actually used this at the first assisted living community here in the state of Georgia.
Great.
So this is just a little storyline. Of course, you can see the hearts there, and it's going to walk you through the utilization of AccuShield and, in turn, how he was able to bring flowers and greet his least visited residents within that community during a certain time frame, which in this aspect was Valentine's Day. So I'm going to read through these cards really quickly, jump into the end of this quick video, and we'll jump back to face-to-face and walk through a few things as to how to simply engage with every resident in your community there. So the AccuShield visitor management system does way more than you think. Do you know the least visited resident within your community right now? Some families, and Abbie, you probably know this just as much as Charles or any other operator, but some families drop their seniors off and they usually don't come back to see them for a long period of time. That could be because they live in a different state, whatever it may be. So did you know that isolation can lead to resident depression? Also, AccuShield does track your least visited residents. And as you all know, what that is called is the love meter.
Yes. So let me pause you just for a minute. Now, operators, if you're watching this right now, I want you to take note, because this is how you're going to keep your least visited residents engaged and feeling happy and thriving in life. Because I think that there are a lot of residents that are they're underknown, right? They're not known. They don't stick out. Maybe they're not the squeaky wheel like some of the other ones. And so this is a way of you tracking who is and who is not being visited. And I love this. So yeah, please continue on.
Of course. Thank you for that. And then, of course, the love meter simply gives those operators a better idea as to who those least visited residents are. So what this is going to do, and I love this part of the video, Charles is going to bring us to see the least visited resident within this specific community here.
And no names, right?
No names. You're exactly right.
Okay.
So what we'll do here is, and if you can hear this reaction from the resident, just from Charles's staff, I'd love you to just to take a listen to this here. So what this does is it shows the excitement from one, the caregiver's point of view, also whenever they walk in to see that specific resident. So we'll walk in, and then you can just hear.
I already have chills, like I really feel so my heart is just full watching this, because so many people just feel overlooked and that they're now just shelved and put away someplace. And this is allowing us to really meet people where they're at. So yeah, I love this. I just love seeing this. I bet that this really allowed this resident to feel loved and feel cared for and noticed by the community, for sure.
Of course. And one thing we've done to take initiative here at AccuShield with all of the corporate groups that we've partnered with to do this, and all of their insight, we've had the ability to send something called a pen pal. So we'll pull the least visited residents within the metro Atlanta area of all of our partner communities. And we're actually sending handwritten letters as well as just gifts for that Christmas time. So they know that they feel loved. Hopefully spark some interest for them to find a new hobby and get out and be social within the community. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, if they're feeling loved, if they're feeling cared for, they're going to step out and naturally want to share that feeling, right? And not keep it contained. They're going to want to step out and they're going to feel more, just more joyful overall. I absolutely love this. This is a technology that's so smart, so needed. I love this, and we can end the show right here, but I want to talk about some other technology that you're engaged in that helps your residents and helps residents to be noticed.
Of course. Let's jump right into that for us then. So, of course, knowing your least visited residents is very important, as we've covered here. But also having certain data and actionable insights to know your most visited guests or most visited residents, what that can do is help you know if that resident has that full acclimation process into that community, meaning not just social visits from their most visited family members, but are they actually going to certain events like ice cream socials, Pilates, or exercise classes within the community? So this can give you a better idea. One, if you have most guests like William Taft come in 30 times a month, you can see who your next volunteer might be for a certain aspect or an event that you have coming up. So that's one way to also engage your residents, simply to know that acclimation process, again, to be preventative for move outs. Mm-hmm. And then you can also track, and we did talk about this a little bit earlier here, Abbie, but to know which residents are being provided the most care. This can give you better insights to know occupancy, or just to help you know from that transition from more of an independent to an assisted setting. And I bring this up to show you some of these ways to communicate and increase that resident engagement, which I think is what we've tried to jump to throughout this entire call here. But before I jump into a few of these aspects and learn hopefully a few more from you, is there any questions based on just knowing certain resident data like this?
I don't have any questions, but it's actually reminding me of when my Nana was, when we had to move her into assisted living. And I could see that not too long in the future, she would have to move into a nursing home because of her needs. And I was always kind of wondering, how the staff was going to know that. And it's really indicative to have this type of visits. Who's most visited by home care, right? Who's getting the most amount of visits by nursing, for instance. And that's really the tip off of those type of things happening in your community that you need to know about, that you cannot just rely on what the people on staff are saying, but also what the metrics are telling you about your residents.
It's very true. And looking into ways to increase engagement and communication after utilizing or knowing certain data like this is really the aspect as to why I threw this slide on here. And one way to do this is internal reviews. And Scott, he was from LCS. He actually said it best on Tech Tuesday. I believe it was last week, but send a simple survey to ask, do you have a friend in the community? That doesn't just give you actionable insights to know if they've been visited or do they have guests coming in, but it gives you more of an in-depth overview to see exactly what's going on within their lives. So they're not cooped up within their beautiful room within your senior living community, but they're also getting out there. The other way to do this is bi-directional technology. This is something called alerts. So if you have someone coming in, whether it is a tour coming into your community, or you know of somebody that is, from a safety and security aspect, a banned visitor, or you have someone, and people usually find and get a kick out of this, you have somebody that has not been up to par or paid their bills for the past few months, whatever it may be. The business office manager can get an alert when that individual signs in and just magically meet them at the front of the community. So it, again, just increases operational efficiency, customer service, and awareness within the community there.
So smart. So sly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I would ensue visitor or video calls, I should say, as social visits, especially from what we just went through. I don't even want to say COVID because unfortunately no one wants to talk about that anymore. We need to put it behind us. But from a video calling aspect, whether it's FaceTime, Skype, VoiceFriend, any of these other video platforms that AccuShield might have an integration with, or that you can simply implement within the community, that is user-friendly to have. If one of my sales directors here, her mom is in a senior living community, and they video call every week. And she told me that is the highlight of her week. Even though she's going to mass and she has all of these awesome other social events, being able to see family that live across the country in an instant via that video call increases that resident engagement, communication, and essentially the longevity of one of your residents' lives. So that's aspect from the video call. And then we talked a little bit about the SMS messaging, but that is a way to send out an alert. If you have an event that's coming up that you want all of your residents to know of, all of your family or guests that has previously come into your community, you can simply click all of their names and send a quick email via AccuShield's dashboard or whatever other platform you might be using to make everybody aware of that. Again, increasing health benefits to that specific resident and creating more of a social aspect.
Right. Yeah, I love that. I also feel like I might be getting too many of those at some point.
Right.
But that's just me. So tell me about this love meter. Do you need to have a certain level of AccuShield ability or like your subscription, for instance, or does it come built into every kiosk and every dashboard?
So that was actually a foundation for why AccuShield was created over a decade ago, was to know everybody in the community. So that's part of our base structure. There's not a lot of add-ons here at AccuShield. You have one foundational standpoint or piece from the front-end kiosk or usability there, as well as the back end for the data or that centralized database that can be accessed by if you owned a community, for example, Abbie, or if you're regional, just wanted to understand the day-to-day to see what was going on.
Yes, I'm speaking about the regional. So we had Christine write in just a moment ago. She wanted to know what DONs are, and you mentioned that. And I'll be honest with you, I was kind of wondering what that was too.
Yeah.
So what is that?
So that is your director of nursing.
Okay.
Similar
Okay.
to WM, like business office manager. Yep,
All
exactly
right.
right.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Thanks. So, is there any other technology you want to share with us about how we can keep residents engaged, especially those that are just like you're not seeing them that often. They're not out and about. They're not at their usual events, or maybe you just have a resident coming in who's not connecting, like we kind of like what we talked about last week on the show. Is there any other technology that you think is necessary to create these connections?
There is something called Reputation Accelerator
Mm-hmm.
or Google reviews and surveys. So that can be from an internal review standpoint. So you can send it out to all of your residents or simply, again, through that SMS messaging feature, link it to the AccuShield dashboard to understand all of the positive reviews and see exactly why they're not happy, break it down and walk them through in their room or maybe in a social setting like at lunch or in the dining area, walk them through why they may not be happy in their social setting or the aspect as to where they're at. So
Yeah.
yeah.
This whole notion that there are residents that are, not engaging, there are residents that are not that don't have friends. The whole thing just like it hurts my heart to think about it, and it makes me really, next time I'm one-on-one with someone, ask them, how is it here? How are you fitting in? Who are your friends? And do you get out and do you play cards, and or do you, who do you eat lunch with? It's just the whole thing just really, I feel it deeply because I want to make sure that the people that I'm working with and I'm engaging with are in fact feeling at home.
Definitely. You're
Yeah.
exactly right. And to your point there, to make sure everyone does feel at home, I know I talked a little bit internally about the utilization of AccuShield from the Love Meter or anything else, but to walk through more of a powerful story as to how some of our amazing industry partners are utilizing the system. From AgeWell, Keith, he actually, we had the opportunity to grab a case study from him.
Oh,
And
great.
he's a powerful tool that combats isolation at Celebration Village. So this essentially allowed and promoted social, intellectual, and spiritual growth within their community. Part of their masterpiece living plan is from what Keith said in the article on our AccuShield blog within our website there. And then one other way that residents are using that Love Meter is through that visitor management platform and capturing everybody that's coming and going. From what Clint Fowler said via Leisure Care is, especially during the holidays, that can feel as, I guess the best way to say it, that is what makes you feel at your loneliness when somebody is not reaching out to you. You don't have a family or guest during that time, or they might be in Europe where you're in the United States. So the ability to know that as an operator, to reach out to that individual, send them their favorite chocolate bar or flowers, really creates I guess, a better sense of awareness and engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to tell you, I just love what you guys are doing. I'm just regularly impressed with the depth in which AccuShield goes to engage residents. And I know it's because many of you are involved on a community level. And that's when really the technology starts to make the biggest difference. So for any of my viewers out there who are involved in technology, if you're not in the community and if you're not working with the residents, you are missing a whole big piece of what your tech can be doing. So as often as possible, get in the community and see how people are using the technology. Like I just see this happening so frequently. So again, hats off to AccuShield and all that you guys are doing and how heart-centered and involved you are. Ian, if someone wants to get in touch with you to find out more, what's the best way?
It would either be my direct line here at AccuShield, or as you can see on the screen here, would be my email address. Love to
Okay.
connect and just learn more about your community, first of all, and then hopefully just walk you through the utilization and see if it would be a fit.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being here with us today. And for our viewers, those who chimed in, we thank you. We love it when you participate. And for anyone who missed this, we will be rebroadcasting this later on. Thank you so much. And I'll see you back here next week.